Hey guys, so welcome back to another video. Today we're going to start off with our next outcome, which is N2, buying or leasing a vehicle. Now, for some of you guys who already own a vehicle or have inherited one from your parents or borrowed one, this might not seem like it's going to be very useful, but again, it's really unlikely you're going to be driving that one car for the rest of your life. So this will be good for you to know if you're planning on buying a car at some point in the future. Now, buying a car already is quite an intimidating process. It is a large amount of money most of the time. There's lots of different options. You can buy it at a dealership. You can buy it off someone who's just selling it from their backyard or their garage. You can buy a car that's brand new. You can buy one that is used. There's lots of different things that you want to consider. Now, in this course, we're only going to cover cars purchased from a dealership. Um, Now, if you're buying a car that's used from someone who's selling it privately, a lot of these things can also be applied. But again, things like interest and loans and whatnot, generally you don't need to worry about that if you're buying it used from someone off some sort of secondhand market. Now, in general, there's three ways that you can go about buying a vehicle. The first way is just to buy the vehicle outright. So if the car costs $19,999, basically you're just going to pay that plus the tax and whatever other charges they have, and you just own the car right away. Another option that is available is if you make a down payment and you're going to take out a loan to pay off the rest of the purchase and then make a monthly payment on your loans afterwards. So let's say on that $20,000 car, you're going to pay some tax and whatnot, and let's say it comes out to about 22,000 after all your taxes and extra charges. If you make a down payment of $10,000, it means that you have a $12,000 loan that you'll probably have to take out from the bank, and you're going to have to make some sort of a payment plan for that, and you have to pay interest on it. So that's the second option. Now, the third option is to just really lease a vehicle by making monthly payments over a fixed period of time. So for that same $20,000 car, they could say, okay, you're going to have to pay $350 per month for the next 4 years. Now, in general, leasing the car, if you were to lease it until you own the car, is going to cost more than if you were just to buy it outright. So you want to keep that in mind. So there's going to be lots of pros and cons for each method. I'd like for you guys to list at least two for each one of those. Just thinking of your own personal situation. What are the benefits of buying something outright versus perhaps leasing it or taking out a loan to cover the extra costs there? And if you do decide to lease a vehicle, there's going to be a number of terms and conditions that you need to be aware of before you sign that agreement. So first off, we have the lease term, which is quite self-explanatory, how long you're going to be using the vehicle or how long you're going to be leasing the vehicle for. Your lease rate is usually your monthly payment amount. This might change. It could be a bi-weekly amount. It could be a weekly amount. Typically, when you hear on the radio or on the TV, and they say, oh, pay as low as $50 weekly or $50 bi-weekly. You need to be really careful with the wording, because when you think about $100 weekly versus $300 monthly, it might seem like $300 monthly is a lot of money, but then when you think about $100 weekly and you think about 4 weeks in a month, it ends up costing you a little bit more, right? So you want to be really careful about what the different terms are for your lease rates. Next, your security deposit that's made at the start of the lease and is refunded if your vehicle is returned in good condition. So if you pay $2,000 at the start and you return the vehicle in good condition at the end of your lease term, then you'll get that $2,000 back. The same thing if you were to pay 1 month's security deposit or 1 month's rent as your security deposit when you are renting a room or something. So if your monthly rent is $500, they'll ask you to pay another $500 on top at the beginning. And if you return the rental at the end in good shape, they'll give you that $500 back. Now, your kilometer allowance is exactly what it sounds like, or your mileage allowance if you're in the States. it's going to be your maximum distance allowed to be driven over the term of the lease. And normally there's a penalty paid if you're over the allowance. So let's say, for example, your allowance is 20,000 kilometers per year and you drive 55,000 kilometers over those 3 years. That is perfectly fine. You're within that 60,000 that's allowed over those 3 years. If you drove 65,000 kilometers, it means that you went 5,000 kilometers over and you have to pay some sort of penalty. Normally, it would be something per kilometer. So let's say they charge you an extra 10 cents per kilometer. So that's 10 cents times 5,000. And that's how much you'd have to pay as a penalty. Next, your delivery charge is just some sort of payment that you're going to pay at the start of your lease to cover things like environmental fees, taxes. Sometimes that includes your shipping and freight charges. If you're getting if you're getting a car customized, if they have to ship it over from another dealership or another province or another country or something, sometimes that all gets lumped into your delivery charge. Lastly, you also have your option of purchase. At the end of your lease, you can buy your vehicle based on the residual value. So the residual value is the value of your car left over at the end of the lease. So let's say, for example, on a $30,000 car, you pay $20,000, as a down payment, and you have to take out a $10,000 loan. Eventually, let's say you lease it for 3 years or something, and you're paying $200 a month. I'm just making up numbers here. And then basically there's going to be some leftover amount on your car at the end. I don't even know if the numbers add up, but there's going to be some sort of amount left over. So let's say $5,000 is left over. You have the choice to buy the car by paying that $5,000 up front, or you could take out another loan, or you can continue to lease it and you can renew your lease. So there's lots of different options available in that case. So on top of those purchasing options, you need to take a look at your own personal situation. What types of things are important to you in a vehicle? I want you guys to think about 5 things that you have to consider for yourself when you're buying a vehicle. So things like you might consider the interior, you might consider the number of seats, storage options, if a sunroof or a panoramic sunroof is important to you, think about that. How about the cost, warranty, the color, things like that? What are the top 5 things, or at least 5 things that you need to consider when you're thinking about buying a car? Now, to help us out in this outcome, we need to understand the different types of interests. The 2 main types that we'll take a look at here are going to be simple interest versus compound interest. Now, simple interest and compound interest differ basically just on how you calculate the interest. With simple interest, you're only going to calculate it based on the principal only. Okay, so now the principal is the amount that you borrow from the bank at the start, and the compound interest is going to be calculated on the interest of your principal and any interest that is gained or earned or accrued over that time. So to take a look at the left side here with your simple interest, we are going to start off with $200 invested in both cases here, and your interest rate is 3%, and we're looking at a term of 2 years. So that's going to be the same for both of them. Now, 3% of $200 happens to be $6. So we're going to take that $6 for year 1 and $6 for year 2 and add them together. And basically, you have earned $12 on that principal of $200 that you invested at a bank. Now, at the same time, if we were to look at your compound interest, you've earned the same $6 on $200 at the beginning of the year. Now, what differs is you'll see here is that to start off for year 2, we calculate it based off of $206. So you add year 1's interest to the amount that you started off with. So it's the $6 plus the $206, or sorry, the $6 plus the $200 you started off with, and then you take 3% of that, which is $6.18. So you get a final value of $12.18. So you would earn a little bit more interest if you invested into something that that calculates interest as compound interest. Now, of course, if you were to take out a loan, that's going to work against you because they are going to keep adding up the amount of interest and the amount of debt that you own. So that's why things like credit card bills can be a little deadly if you aren't careful with how you spend and how you pay off your debt in those cases. Now, our formula for compound interest is simply A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the power of N times T. Now, to define a couple of these terms, we know that A is going to be the amount of money that you're going to repay for the loan. So that's essentially what we're going to try to find out at the very end. P is the principal, the amount that you borrowed at the very start. So if you borrowed $10,000, then P is $10,000. R is going to be the annual interest rate as a decimal. I'll talk about that very shortly. N is going to be the number of compounding periods per year. So you'll see N here twice. And then finally, T is going to be the term of the loan in years. So something that we want to keep in mind when we have R as an annual interest rate as a decimal, okay, so sometimes you'll see things like per annum, and that's really just a fancy way of saying per year. And we're going to express those percentages as a decimal. So just as a quick review, 50% as a decimal, we know is just 0.5. 10% is going to be 0.1. 5% would then be 0.05. And then something like 1.5% is going to be 0.015. So understand how to convert things from a decimal, a percentage into a decimal, and be comfortable doing so throughout this outcome. We're going to work through an example here. So we've got Timothy. He lives in British Columbia, and he plans on purchasing a half-ton truck. The purchase price is $19,950. He also has to pay 5% GST and 7% PST. So two things we need to answer. What is the total price of the truck? And the second part, Timothy doesn't have enough money to save to pay the full price. He can make a down payment of $9,000 and then take out a bank loan for the remainder. The bank offers him a loan at an interest rate of 6.25% per annum, compounded annually for a 4-year term. What will he pay in total for the truck? So we're going to work through these step by step. So first, we need to calculate the GST and the PST separately. Okay, we're not going to tax you twice, so we're not going to take the GST, tax 5%, and then tax on top of that total amount, okay? So we're going to calculate the GST and the PST separately. So we're going to take the $19,950 and we're going to multiply that by 0.05. So we're multiplying by 0.05, and that gives us 19,950 times 0.05. That gives us $997.50. And then we're going to take the $19,950 and multiply it by 0.07 because we want to turn that 7% into a decimal. So 19,950 times 0.07. And we get $1,396.50. So we're going to add those together that we have to pay in tax. So we're going to take that $19,950 and then add the $2,394. And we get a total purchase price of $22,344. So not bad. That basically adds an extra $2,300 to your purchase price. So the tax can be fairly deadly when you're buying a car. So you're not really buying something for $20,000. You're buying it for a little north of $22,000 instead. So for part B, we need to figure out a couple different things. Go back to this page here. So he's going to make, first of all, a down payment of $9,000. So that's the first thing that we've noticed. He's made a down payment of $9,000. He's going to take out a bank loan. How much is that loan? We need to figure that out. So your bank loan, remember, is going to be your principal, your P value. So let's go ahead and do that. And the bank offers him an interest rate of 6.25% per annum. So that's per year. It's compounded annually for a 4-year term. So lots of information here that we need to keep in mind. So just to make sure that we keep everything on the same page here, your bank loan is going to be P, so we need to figure that out. Your 4-year term is going to be your N value, or your T value rather. Since we're compounding an interest rate annually, okay, and this interest rate is given as an annual interest rate, this is going to be your N value. And finally, your interest rate gives you your R. So the first thing that we need to do is figure out what P is equal to. We know that your total purchase price from what we found earlier was $22,344. We're going to subtract $9,000, okay, from that amount. So $22,344. We're going to subtract $9,000, and we get $13,344 as our difference there. So this number is equal to the principal. That's how much money we need to. Take out as a loan from the bank. Your R here is going to be 6.25% converted into a decimal, which is going to be 0.0625. We're going to convert that into that decimal there. N is just going to be equal to 1 because there is one compounding period when you are compounding interest month or yearly. And then T is just going to equal to 4 because we're compounding this over 4 years. So T is equal to 4. So we're going to go ahead and plug this into our compound interest formula. A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the power of NT. We're going to make sure we follow BEDMAS rules. So we're going to look at whatever's inside of your brackets first. Then we're going to do your exponent. And finally, multiply it with your principal on the outside there. So subbing everything in, we have A is equal to $13,344 as your principal. You have 1 plus your 0.0625 over 1 raised to the power of 1 times 4. So again, we're going to do the inside there. We have 13,344. 1 plus 0.0625 gives you 1.0625. And we know that 1 times 4 is equal to 4. So we've gone ahead and done that. Now we're going to raise that to the power of 4. I'm going to take that 1.0625, raise it to the power of 4. We get about 1.2744. I'm not going to write the rest of the decimals there. And then we're going to multiply that by the principal on the outside. So our final price there ends up being about 17 0 0, oops, too many zeros, $17,005.98. So that is how much he needs to pay back off of that principal loan of 13,000. So basically, he pays an extra $4,000, a little under $4,000 in interest. Okay, now the question did ask, what will he pay in total for the truck? So that's how much he owes for his loan. Okay, what we need to do now is we're going to add $9,000 because of that security deposit. So in total, he will have paid $26,005.98. So we're going to compare this number. So this is the number that he owes, or that's how much he would have paid in total if you include the bank loan. So 26,000 as opposed to the 22,000. So he pays essentially an extra 4,000 or almost $4,000 extra if he were to take out a loan and he doesn't pay off that car or that truck right off the bat. So hopefully you can come to your own conclusion about what are some of the negative things about leasing a car, but at the same time think about what are some of the benefits of leasing a car and not paying that $22,344 right off the bat. How many of you guys would be able to afford a $20,000 truck right away? So those are the things that you want to keep in consideration as you're making these choices. So I'm going to do one more practice question with you guys. So there's 5 included here. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on the next page. I'm just going to do question number 2 with you guys. That should set you guys up essentially for some practice on your own. So Gervier needs to buy a small car for his courier business in Edmonton, Alberta. He's got 2 options. He can buy the car for $19,195 plus 5% GST. So that is his total purchasing price once we calculate that GST. And he can also take out a loan after making a down payment of $5,000 at an interest rate of 2.5% per year, and it's compounded monthly for 3 years. So we're going to calculate 2 different things. First of all, if you were to buy the car outright, what would that look like? So for part A, what's the total purchase of the vehicle? We're going to take that $19,195 and we're going to multiply it by 1.05. So when we multiply something by 1.05, basically we're tacking on that 5% to the cost of the car. So if we multiply something by 1, we're saying that we're multiplying that cost by 100%. Now we're multiplying it by 105% to see what that total cost is. So I'm going to punch that into my calculator. 19,195 times 1.05 gives me about $20,154.75. So that is if he bought his car and just walked out the door, he'd pay $20,154.75. Now, most people can't just fork out $20,000 right off the bat. Most people will have to take out some sort of loan and pay down the rest of it. So for part B, we're going to identify a couple different things. We're going to first look at his down payment. So he's making that down payment first. Then he's going to get a loan at an interest rate of 2.5%. It's compounded monthly for 3 years. So a couple things we need to figure out. Once he makes that down payment, okay, how much of a loan does he have to take out? So we're going to take the $20,154. So $20,154. And we're going to subtract 5,000 from it. So he will need to take out this much money or he has to take out a loan for $15,154. Maybe I'll do that in a, do that in a slightly different color. So not the green. Let's do this in, let's do this in a yellow. Okay, so that's your p-value. The next thing that we need to figure out is what is your interest rate, your R value. So now P is equal to 15154. R, we know that your interest rate is 2.5% per year. So we're going to convert that into a decimal. 2.5% as a decimal is just simply 0.025. Okay, another way that you can calculate this is we're going to take that 2.5 and divide it by 100. So 2.5 divided by 100 gives you 0.025. We're going to figure out what n is equal to. In this case, the number of compounding periods. Now this is where it changes up a little bit from the previous question. It's compounded monthly. Okay, so how many compounding periods in 1 year are there if you do things monthly? Well, in this case, n has to be equal to 12. And we're compounding it monthly for how many years? We're doing it for 3 years. So t has to be 3. So let's go ahead and plug these into our formula. We know that A is equal to P times 1 plus R over N raised to the power of N times T. So if A is equal to $15,154 times 1 plus 0.0625 over 12 and raise to the power of 12 times 3. So I'm going to plug those into our calculator. So again, we're going to make sure we follow bed mass. We're going to do the inside here first. Then we're going to do that 12 times 3. And then we're going to multiply it with the principal amount on the outside. So 0.0625 divided by 12 gives you about 0.05. So we're going to have 15154. We're going to have 1.005. And let's go 52 on the inside there. And we're going to raise that to the power of 36. That 36 comes from 12 times 3. So 12 times 3 is 36. That goes on the outside. So we're going to raise that 1.052 to the power of 36. So this gives us about 1.20528. I'm going to take that number, I'm going to multiply it by the $15,154 on the outside there. So I'll finally get about $18,264.87. So the question has asked, how much more will he pay for the car than if he had paid the entire purchase price? So this isn't the final amount yet. You want to add the $5,000 that he paid as his security deposit. So we get $23,264.87. So you write that down. So this is a price with loan. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the two numbers and we're going to subtract the original purchase price, which was $20,154.75. $20,154.75. When we subtract those two numbers, we will get $3,110.12. So this is, you pay $3,110.12 more with a loan, okay, as compared to if you were to just pay it off right away. Okay, so note that for your down payment, we didn't have to do anything like loans, or sorry, not loans, taxes or interest or anything. You're just taking out that $5,000, or you're making that down payment of $5,000, and then you get that interest rate with that. Now, one thing that I want you guys to keep in mind is for a question like number 3 here. So Francine needs a van. She's found one that costs $25,675, including all fees and taxes. Make sure you read that part. You don't need to calculate any taxes on top of that. So there's two options. She can lease the van for 4 years, $450 a month. Okay, you don't need to do any more taxes. Okay, so that $450 a month, okay, with a security deposit of $2,000 and a delivery charge of $529.96. I want to keep two things in mind. If she has a van for 4 years and it costs $450 a month, the first thing that we need to do is figure out how many months are there in 4 years. So in order to do that, I'm going to take 4 and we're going to multiply that by 12 to give us 48 months. So in this case, this will give us your n times t, essentially. Okay, the number of compounding periods, maybe I'll do that. So in this case, your n and then the term. Okay, so that is what you do there. But in this case, we're just going to calculate as 48 months. And you're given a security deposit of $2,000 and a delivery charge of $529.96. So what we need to do is we're going to take that 48 months and we're going to multiply it by $450. So 48 times $450 is going to be equal to $21,600. But we need to add a couple more things. We are going to have to add the security deposit and delivery charge to that number. Okay, so we're going to have to add a couple of different things here. So we're going to add them. I'm actually going to leave that for you. So plus whatever. So plus, and that's going to be for you to figure out. So try these questions out. Let me know if you have any questions or concerns. Give me an email. I'd be more than happy to help you out with these questions. Until then, make sure you guys keep washing your hands, stay safe, stay home. See you in the next video.